everyone! Today I'm making this video to give you guys an update about what's going on and what's happening with my health because the last 3 months have been pretty crazy. So in September, my family and I went to Sun Valley, Idaho for a wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding. It was a great trip. The air was so fresh and my body did great. I even hiked 5 miles and it was just an overall great trip. And then we came back to Chicago and we saw my dog and he was so excited to see us. He was jumping around, running everywhere, giving us hugs and kisses. But then as we were going inside, he actually got a little bit too excited and he jumped and landed, and his face landed into a cement stair. And then shortly after that, his nose started to bleed like really bad, and he was bleeding for over 30 minutes. So my parents then decided to take him to the emergency room to see why won't it stop. And also a little side note here, at this point my dog's nose has been running for the past couple months, and we kept taking him to the vet and they kept telling us it was allergies and they didn't really know what was wrong, so he just kept getting multiple shots for allergies and his nose just kept running. So at the animal hospital, they actually told my parents that they found a tumor in his nose and that they wanted to put him down that night because they were worried that he would have another episode of bleeding. But my parents didn't want to put him down without my brother and I saying goodbye. So my parents actually brought him home, and then for 2 nights I slept with him downstairs and was spending as much time as I could with him. And then the 3rd day we all decided that we had to go put him down because he was just a mess and he was suffering too much. And this was actually really hard for me because my dog was my best friend, and since being diagnosed with Crohn's, he had made it a lot easier to handle everything I was going through. But I know he's in a better place now and he's not suffering anymore. So it's hard, but I'm getting through it every day, and I just wanted to say I love you, Whiskey. Moving on top of having to put my little puppy down, we were also in the middle of closing on our house, but there were so many complications with that. But long story short, we finally came to a closing date with only a few days notice, so we had to pack everything up super fast, put it in a truck, and move down to Tampa, Florida. And that's where I am now. And that's also why you see some unpacked boxes in the background. But we are in Tampa, Florida now. So we moved down to Tampa, Florida because in January I'll be starting at the University of Tampa, and I'm really excited about that, but I'm also praying at the same time that it'll go smoothly with my health. Okay, now time for the big update on how my health is doing. So after my dog died, I felt like my inflammation went higher, because every time I went to the bathroom, my stomach started hurting and I was going more often. But luckily it didn't go all the way back up like when I was really bad, because 3 days after we put him down, I actually got blood work done and it showed that my SED rate was 38, whereas when I was really bad, it was 48. So when we got to Tampa, Florida, my mom and I actually decided to get in touch with a macrobiotic counselor in Miami, Florida. And we thought this would be a good idea because he's closer to us and he can also help me transition with what foods to eat and what foods are in season, because this climate is a lot warmer than it is in Chicago. Then I had a few video calls with him and he made some changes to my diet, but then I didn't really notice much change in my symptoms. And there's just some symptoms that I'm really trying to work on right now. Like one, I'm really skinny and I need to gain weight because I'm only 83 pounds and that's kind of scary. And then I have not had my period for over 1.5 years now, and that's also kind of scary because the last time I didn't have my period for 3 months, I got it back and my period cramps were so bad. I was on the couch crying all day long. And then the last thing I'm really trying to work on is that I get bowel leakages and I cannot control when they happen. So for the past couple months, I've been wearing a pad 24/7, and then they also happen in the middle of the night. So every night I wake up multiple times to go to the bathroom. Then after a week or so of being here, my family and I actually drove down to Fort Lauderdale to go visit our family there. And while we were there, we actually got to go meet the macrobiotic counselor in person. And after he saw me, his recommendation was, besides macrobiotics, I also need medical help, and that I need to go find a good GI doctor and get on medication to help me get to remission. Okay, so now if you know me, you know that medication actually really scares me, because I've read so many people's stories about how they get on multiple medications and how they still have terrible side effects, and then how they need multiple surgeries, and then how they end up getting a J pouch, and that just seemed all way too much for me. I was actually on medication for the first 3 months I was diagnosed, and that was really hard. After hearing his opinion, I really didn't know what to do, because I want to go to college and I want to have a good time and enjoy my experience, but I also don't want to get on medication. So then I started to look up GI doctors in the Tampa area, and none actually stood out to me. But then I found one in Sarasota, and he is actually really good. My parents and I met him, and he explained everything. He got straight to the point and did not beat around the bush. And what I also really liked with him is that he didn't just stick to medication. He also explained how diet is just as important. I'd also like to mention, if you have a GI doctor that tells you to eat whatever you want, you need to find a new one. Because if you keep eating the same bad foods that are causing you to flare up, you will never get better. My first GI doctor told me to eat whatever I wanted, and I did so bad. So praying that this time on medication it goes a lot smoother, because I also have the help of macrobiotic counselors. And then while I'm on this medication, I will still be eating the same way and doing different therapies, so it's not like everything I learned is shot out the door. So actually 5 days ago, I started my first medication. It's called budesonide, and it's like prednisone, but it's not prednisone. People say they don't have as many bad side effects. So far, I haven't really noticed any difference, but it hasn't been that long. And so then next week, I actually start my other medication, which is called Stelara. And I'm actually nervous about that one because I hate shots, let alone giving myself a shot. So we shall see how that one goes. I will try to keep you guys updated on how my body does on the medication. And I'd also like to say, don't feel discouraged by this video if you're trying to heal your body solely through food, because I know it can be done, and please do not give up. Just right now, my body needs that extra push, and eventually my goal is to get off this medication. Thank you for watching. Bye!